All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining. I think I set this up back in December, and I've been crawling out of my skin since then because this is literally the topic I am most passionate about, and that is helping others be successful on the long, winding, and sometimes cruel path of entrepreneurship. So, thanks for joining. I've got far more content than we have time to talk about it. In fact, I've actually included in the follow-up package a couple of additional videos and other webinars we've done because there's so much content. We could run this thing probably as an all-day seminar, which brings up a good point. Maybe we'll do a follow-on. But I'm going to try to fly through as much as I can. The topic is growing your consulting practice, right? And that's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, working on, fixating on for the past few years, and it's my hope that you guys get a ton of value out of this experience. So here's there we go. I already blew something up. Here's sort of framing of disclaimers, if you will. As I thought about how I wanted to approach this, and that is that the purpose of today is really to help folks who have a business today of some sort, right? You could be, selling stuff on Amazon or eBay out of your house, or this could be your full-time business and it's just, not thriving, or it could be something where you're making, all the money you want already. But the purpose of this webinar is really not to give you ideas on what kind of business to start. I've got some recommendations on that in the end because I've got some good resources around that. My assumption is you've thought through to some extent, what it is you're selling? What's your offer? As I said, we only have an hour. I'm going to stick around and do Q&A as long as possible. I think it'll work well. I want to invite everybody on the call to, send me chat messages. Send me through the application a chat message anytime throughout here if you need clarification, what have you. I can also unmute you guys individually if we need to bring in for a question. But what I'm going to do is when I'm done with this, I'm going to try to just do as much Q&A as humanly possible until I get exhausted or you guys have to leave or there's nobody left or what have you. The other disclaimer I wanted to give was that, when you talk about, how do you grow your business, I use the term consulting practice, and I kind of debated about this a lot because this is not just for people who do consulting. It's anybody who's really doing what I call the solopreneur gig, right? It's trying to figure out how to do stuff on your own, and that may be selling a service that you offer. It may be reselling a service from somebody else, and maybe selling a product. But there's lots of differences. There's also lots of difference between tangible and intangible services and products, right? There's a huge movement, and you do a search on the internet for home-based business or entrepreneur, what have you. And you've got all these information products. These people that tell you, they'll show you how to start your own business, generating $100,000 a month in 30 days. So there's a lot of difference, a lot of broad range of experience that I would expect people, to have coming to this call. So what I wanted to share was, A, ask questions throughout this. B, if I can help you guys, send me an email. I'm always happy to get into a conversation and, share my experience, et cetera, if you have something that's really specific. As always, my disclaimer is these are my experiences. I'm literally sharing the journey that I've gone through, over the past several decades of my life, and as always, your mileage may vary. So with that, we'll jump into it. Anybody who's having any audio difficulties, whatever, you got to send me a text message because I can't hear you. Okay, let's keep going here. So I thought I'd start out with some of the most common myths of the solopreneur, right? One of the fabulous things about living in now 2017 is that I think as a species, right, we finally get that we truly can, create our own existence, create our own world, create our own profession, create our own life, right? I remember leaving my job in 2002, the last real job that I had, making lots of money and leaving it to start my own business. And entrepreneurship was kind of a weird thing, right? It really wasn't something that everybody did. The dot-com era sort of changed perception of that. And in the past few years, the internet, access to technology, the fundamental concept of internet marketing has really brought this concept of, work from home, do your own thing to the forefront, and everybody's caught the bug. And, people don't look at you like you're half crazy. I remember when I said, hey, I'm leaving my job, people were like, they looked at me like I had two heads, right? These days, you tell somebody you're going to go, venture on your own, and you get some pats in the back, and people are actually excited for you. Literally, it wasn't that long ago, 16, 15 years ago, what are you, crazy? That was literally the reaction. So now it's mainstream, but in the context, or I should say in contrast to the mainstreamness of, doing your own thing, some myths have emerged that I want to at least address. One is that the life of the solopreneur means freedom, right? I can do what I want. I make my own hours and my own boss. Well, that's true if you mean you work all the time. And certainly, early in my journey, the entrepreneurial spirit meant that I got to work, some days 20 hours a day, some days 24 hours a day, but, never less than 12, we'll call it. Flexibility. If that means that, you basically are at the beck and call of everybody all the time, all your customers, right? That's sort of a myth that choosing your own path is going to give you this instant flexibility. Now, I will tell you that 15 some years later, I have an awesome lifestyle. I choose my schedule. I choose my clients. I make great money. I don't trade my time for money. I think I got a pretty good gig. It wasn't easy getting here. There was a lot of work early on. There was a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of hard choices. So just keep that in mind. These things are possible. They just don't happen overnight. Independence. Not so much, right? For me, the concept of being an entrepreneur actually means that you are now dependent on a whole lot of people for your existence, right? More dependence than you ever had, right? Waking up, going to work, despite how crappy it might be, you still get that check every couple of weeks, right? And it shows up, and you might worry about getting fired, but having to bug your clients about money, is the check there, et cetera. It can be a little bit of a frustrating experience. The 4-hour work week, please don't get me started on Tim Ferriss. Very bright guy, fantastic marketer. Anybody who tells you you're working 4 hours a week is probably writing a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, in my opinion, and selling you on a load of horse shit. Money while you sleep. I have spent the past, I'll say 6 years at this point, deeply immersed in the world of internet marketing, deeply immersed in the world of online. How do you create products, services, offers, pipelines, funnels, etc. And I've gotten pretty good at it. I'm going to share some really cool things with you guys today. But I know some of the top people in this world, nobody makes money while they sleep. They work their asses off to drive traffic, to convert, to get subscriptions. Just by way of example, right? I think this is a pretty compelling topic, right? You guys are spending a whopping $20 to be on this webinar. I had to market heavily to my list of over 12,000 actively engaged audience members to get about 30 people to show up, right? Now, I don't do it for the money. I do this because I love this and because ultimately it'll bring me, other clients, other opportunities. But this concept that you're going to come up with some thingamajiggy offer video, start selling it like hotcakes, and wake up to many zeros in your bank account, it doesn't work that way. This is hard work, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't do anything else. But under no circumstances, ever believe that this is easy, because it's not. So, most fail. I was sharing a story this morning with a friend about an old colleague of mine who, when I quit my job and started my own, was the first time he said, I really wish I could do that. Well, I heard him tell me this story for 15 years, right? About every 6 months we'd catch up and, I really admire what you're doing. I wish I could do that. I really want to go out on my own. Well, he finally got fired 15 years later. And, he had to make the journey. But the sad reality is that most folks make a leap, right? I had a good buddy who went out on his own for about a year and a half. And, ultimately, fail is a hard word, right? He went back and got a quote, real job, right? He's got a family, he's got kids. I get it. But I wanted you guys to see and really think about, these are the things that are going to trip you up, right? If you do these things, you're dramatically increasing the probability that you're going to fail. So stop doing them, be aware that you're doing them. I can't, give you all the nuances of how to do these things, but, at least from a high level perspective, number one problem is they try to do everything, right? When you say, who's your ideal customer? Oh, I serve all kinds of customers. I can help anybody. Well, that is the fastest path to failure. Focusing on the wrong things. I have worked with, met, advised, consulted, and had friends or been friends with folks who have, decided to step out and be entrepreneurs or try to grow their personal business. They spend a year working on the website, the business cards, the branding, all the stuff that, quite frankly, doesn't matter, right? None of that matters if you don't have revenue. A long time ago when I started my first company, we did sales outsourcing, like full-on sales outsourcing. We'd been around for about a year and a half, something like that. Bumped into a gentleman who somebody introduced to me as, basically being in the same business I was in. So I sat down with him and, very interesting guy, very serious, and, showed up in a suit. He had this, portfolio booklet with all of his contracts and processes. I was just like blown away. I'm like, man, I need to roll up shop now and give up because obviously this guy's going to kick my ass in the market and there can't possibly be room for two of us, et cetera. Long story short, after talking about all the stuff he had built for an hour or so, I said, well, man, this is amazing. So how much revenue are you guys doing currently? And he goes, oh, no, I haven't started selling yet. And I sort of chuckled. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I wanted to get all these process things right, so I could scale. I said, you mean you don't have a client? I'd been around a year and a half. I was already doing a couple $100,000 a year, right? Through sheer hustle. I didn't have all these documents. I didn't have these process. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I had the one thing that matters, and that's money. So don't focus on all this stuff. Don't mistake activity. I go to the coffee shop. I work on my process. I work on my offer. Your success is measured in one thing only, and that is revenue to replace income, that you would otherwise need to get from an employer who owns your soul, right? That's your metric. Stop overthinking this stuff. Go talk to people. Go have more conversations with customers or people that could be customers. Stop worrying about, do I have the perfect offer? Stop worrying about, is it packaged right? Do I have a PowerPoint deck? Nonsense. Next big challenge, they don't charge enough. Money, and we'll do a whole talk on money a little bit later, is a source of great fear for people, right? It was for me. I love talking about money now. I have no problem whatsoever talking about money, discussing money, asking for money, fielding outrageous amounts, that other people wouldn't ask, but not charging enough, and frankly, more importantly, not getting paid fast enough. And I probably won't have a chance to get into this today, but about 5 years ago, give or take, I made a decision that I was only going to work with clients who were willing to pay me at the beginning of the month. Meaning, if I give you an invoice, I want that paid. Because I got tired of doing work, submitting an invoice, and then badgering them for a month, to actually get them to pay my bill. And that fundamentally changed my life. But that is the one thing that will strangle me. I will tell you, we actually are in a very small business, unfriendly environment. And that means that, you got these companies telling you, oh, we'll work with you, but we're going to pay you net 60, or you got to go through our vendor procurement thing. Those are the things that will kill you as an independent business owner, right? If you don't get paid fast enough, you don't think about that, you're going to starve because your bills come in every month, your mortgage shows up every month, your car payments show up every month, and you can't afford to work with people who aren't going to pay you. So bottom line is it's a race, right? When I ran my company, I shut it down in, I want to say about our 7th year. I'd run out of money, cash flow, but mostly I'd run out of sanity, right? I wasn't able to continue the grueling pace building a company. I just run out of energy, right? We all have a limit to what we can do. We all have a limit to how much money's in our savings account, how long we can live on subsistence income, or frankly, how long our spouse or significant other is going to put up with this, chasing the dream of being an entrepreneur. So you're in a race against time. And what you have to do is figure out how to replace your income or generate enough income, figure out what you need to figure out before you run out of one of those things. That's really critical. So to support you in that, we're actually doing an exercise. So I'd actually like you to go through this exercise, and I'd actually like you to calculate the things that I'm about to share with you. And then there are going to be 2 things in here that are in blue, and I want you to text them to me, right? So I want you to think about some things. First of all, how much money do you need each month, right? You have bills, you have expenses, you need to know what those are. I don't care if it's 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, but literally, I want each of you to grab a piece of paper, get your calculator, and start writing. First line is, how much money do you need to just cover expenses, not to, fill your 401k, not to, put the boat fund, in good standing, but just to get to the next month. Okay, hopefully you got it. How much does your real, and I left out a word here, job provide, right? If you have another source of income, how much of that is met by something that is consistent, right? I had a gentleman call me years ago, and he reached out to me, found me through somebody else, and he said, Towns, it's very important we talk. I'm quitting my job on Monday, and I want to see if you'll help me. And I said, okay, let's talk. And we chatted, and I said, how much revenue is your new company generating? And he said, well, right now, 0. And I said, well, I'm going to make this easy for you. If you quit your job, I'm going to refuse to work with you because you're an idiot, right? If you can't figure out how to soft launch your side company while still collecting your paycheck and fulfilling your obligations, then you're not smart enough to be an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurship is not about waiting for someday till you have enough money and quitting. In most cases, it's about transitioning, right? I did it the wrong way. I quit my $250,000 a year job and started a new company with revenue of 0. Don't do it that way. It's terrible, right? So how much does your real job provide each month, right? Now, the implication is, what's the delta, right? How much are you burning? And then how much do you have saved, or what other sources of income, can you pull from? I don't care if it's parents, right? The nice thing is we live in an age where, there's all these baby boomers sitting on stacks of money they got to get rid of. If you can call your folks or relatives and say, hey, can you help support me? Do it. But the point is, you need a no bullshit assessment of how much do you spend, how much actual income is coming in, what other sources do you have? And the big question is this, how many months, given that burn rate, do you actually have? And this is what I want you to send me a text. How many months can you actually work on this, right, before you have to either give up, right, or postpone or whatever, right? This is a really important number to know. Now, if the answer is never, then I want you to type never. I can do what I'm doing forever. But what I want to hear from you guys is, how many months of focused effort between now and the time you need to fully replace your income, right, with your new business, whatever it is, before you give up. So calculate and send me that via the chat function. Okay. Next question. Your core offer, whatever it is that you sell, right? How much profit does that generate per month, right? By way of example, for me, the core offer is typically an advisory relationship with a company that, I spend a couple hours a week training, doing this, that, the other thing, and I charge them $5,000 a month. That is 100% profit because I have no expenses on top of that. It's just my time, right? Now, if you are reselling something else, there's the concept of gross margin. If you're reselling a training program from somebody else and, you got to pay them 50%, then I don't want to hear that, you need $5,000 a month. You need $10,000 a month, right? So think about margin, right? Look at this. Good stuff coming in. I've worked through my savings and now need my business income to pay the bills each month, right? Time is of the essence. Great. Keep going. How many deals do you need a month to break even? I'm going to tell you my story, right? I have a very hefty alimony payment. I got some child support payments. I got rent. I have a small car payment. I owe the IRS a tad bit of money, so we got a little payment plan going. Give or take, my monthly nut is about $15,000 a month, right? Give or take, right? Groceries, bills, some fun, etc. That's pretty high if you ask me, but like I said, I got some trailing expenses I got to deal with. My core offer is $5,000. It's all profit. I need 3 deals a month to break even. Anything more than that, goes in savings, goes to other stuff. You have to know these things, right? You have to know these things. So what I want to know is, how many deals do you need to sell a month to break even? I actually want 2 numbers. How many do you need to sell and how many are you at today and what's the difference? So if you need 15,000 and your core offer is 5, you're going to tell me I need 3 deals a month. I'm currently selling 0 and I need 3, or I need 3 deals a month. I'm currently, booking 1 and I need 2 more. So put that in there. We'll talk about it later. All right. I'll give you guys a minute to keep doing that. Success. It's really simple. And I mean that. It's straightforward. That doesn't mean it's not brutally challenging. But success in the entrepreneurial world requires two things, absolute clarity on two things. One, answering the question, whom do you serve? Right? I'll talk about that in a second in more detail, but you got to know that. Second is, how do you serve them? Notice I say serve, not what do you sell, what do you do. If you want to be successful, I believe, in this game, you most definitely have to view what you do not as selling and taking money, but serving others' needs. So if you can answer these two questions with absolute clarity and accuracy, then you got a pretty good shot. Let's talk about that. I gave you the list of myths, right? You're not working 4 hours a week. You don't have flexibility. You don't have the freedom to do whatever you want. The only advantage to running your own business is you actually do get to create the life you want, right? You get to choose who you work with. At the end of the day, I need 3 lousy, measly customers to live, right? Yeah, that's not the life of my dreams. That's not, champagne and caviar all the time. But I only need to find 3 people. And there's a lot of people in this world, right? The nice thing about not being General Motors or McAfee or pick any big company is that I don't have shareholders. I'm not trying to, right? I'm resigned to, this is a freaking lifestyle business, right? I'm not trying to, sell someday, right? I ran a company for 7 years, and I had the dream. I had the bug that I'm going to sell it. I'm going to, get a multiple, right? Everybody was on that fantasy train. And one day I was like, this is a lifestyle business. It's never going to be worth anything to anybody but me. But you know what? I can make some damn good money for the rest of my life and actually have a great time, enjoy my life, enjoy my family, enjoy my kids, travel, do whatever I want. I can create my own life. That's the entrepreneurial journey. I'm not trying to build it to grow. So I get to pick my customers. And the day that I decided I would only work with people that I truly care about, that I truly have passion for, that I love, was the day that my life got perfect, right? When I bring on a new customer, I share with them that I'm not just bringing on a customer. I consider them to be a friend, to be family, to be somebody close to me. I want them to call me at night, on the weekends, 4 a.m. I want them to talk about business. I want to talk about their kids. I don't really care because I'm doing this because I care, right? And that passion fuels me. That passion keeps me going and energizes me. And I'll tell you a little story about that in a minute. Be specific. Be picky, right? I know it's difficult, but you have to find a way to move towards an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. I talk a lot about finding the perfect customer. I talk about not working with people, who don't really appreciate what you do, who you can't really serve them, with all your heart and all your passion. And what I hear most often from entrepreneurs is, well, gosh, Townsend, that's easy for you to say. You got a mailing list. You got like 12,000 subscribers. You got inbound leads. You have all this stuff. You get to be picky. Well, the dirty secret is this. Picky and choosy is not something you get to be someday. It's something you must choose to be now and live into it. When I made the decision to choose my customers, I was at one of the most low, painful, and broke periods of my life. I was a year out of declaring complete and total financial bankruptcy from the sale of my business. I'd gone through a brutal divorce. I had $5 in my checking account. And I said, I'd rather live on the freaking streets and starve and have nothing than continue to work and spend the rest of my days not serving those that I truly care about, right? You don't get to serve a bunch of schmucks, for lack of a better word, and in your mind say, well, when I've hit success, then I'll start being picky. It doesn't work that way, folks, right? Choosing the life of your dreams, getting the life of your dreams requires making the hard choice now. It means saying no to schmucks now who are not going to fulfill your soul, for lack of a better term, right? Because that's what gives you the motivation to go find the customers that will. When you accept mediocrity in yourself and others, In the back of your mind, you say, well, someday I'll get what I want. That someday never shows up because it's like you have this needle in your arm, called, well, I got to make this work, right? Because you never get to that point where, hey, now I'm coasting. Now I can start to be choosy. You want to have a fantastic business? You sit down and make a long list of the things that really matter, that you really care about. Do you think when I said, I'm not doing contracts, I'm not doing proposals, I get paid at the beginning of the month, I won't travel, which were decisions I made, I had dozens of customers? No, I had nothing. I had 0 customers when I made those decisions. And it was hard, right? It was hard. It's painful, it's scary. But that's what got me where I am today, not waiting for everything to be fine so then I can make the hard choices. You got to write it down, right? When you say, I know who my customer is, I'm going to say, great, send me a list, right? I've got 2 pages of stuff, bullet points, right, that describe my ideal customer. I serve CEOs, founders. Actually, I think I got something down here. Hold on. Yeah, here's an example. This is the beginning, right? CEO, founder, owner, business 5+ years. That's specific. Small business. I don't really work with people under $1 million sometimes. Mostly I do it for free. Or over $5 million, too much bureaucracy. They've been stuck where they're at for 2 years. They no sales is the problem, right? And by that I mean they admit it, right? They're not thinking maybe something's wrong with sales. They've tried and failed. When I go talk to, I had a story last year, I talked to a client, prospective client, and they said, yeah, we had the sales guy. We're thinking we might fire him, and then we'll hire you. I said, great, call me when you fire him. Nothing to talk about until you fired him and admitted that you made a mistake and you don't know how to hire salespeople and you need me, right? I don't waste my time, right? I work with people who do business on a handshake. If you need contracts and legal reviews and references, I am not your provider, right? I choose. Why? I just don't want to. I choose not to. People that pay on the first of the month, right? People that don't give me bullshit about that. People that don't care if I meet in person. People are like, well, we really like FaceTime. Guess what? The only FaceTime I got is on my iPhone. If that's okay for you, great. If you need me to fly down there, not going to happen because I don't get on a plane to go do business. Why? I'm lazy. I like staying in my house. I hate leaving my house, right? So there's whom do you serve, and then there's how do you serve them, right? I will tell you, and I'm just going to spend a minute on this. When I sit down and I talk to entrepreneurs, aspiring or otherwise, and I say, so do you know who you serve and how you serve? Oh, yeah, I got a very clear idea. And then as soon as I start asking, they give me some bland, vague bullshit. Oh, well, we serve these kind of companies. No. Can you see the person's face? Do you know what they're feeling when they're sharing with you their dark secrets? You know, when I sit down with a business owner, one of the first questions I ask them is, how's your relationship with your wife? How's your relationship with your kids? How's your marriage? Right? It's not a qualifying question, except it is, because I've been there. I've built the business that killed my marriage, that caused everything in my financial life to spiral down. I know what it's like to be up at 4 a.m, terrified of how you're going to pay the mortgage, how you're going to tell your kids they might not be able to go to camp this summer, right? And I feel that. And I exist to help others who are experiencing that. Those are my qualification criteria, right? Those are the people that I get passionate about. I pop out of bed at 5 a.m, 6 a.m, because I want to help somebody deal with that, right? The gut-wrenching pain of I might have to go back and take a job that I hate to support my family, and I feel like a failure, right? So when you say, I know who I serve, hopefully we get the chance to talk about it. You can send me an email. We can talk about it. I'm happy to chat, but I'm going to push you on that. Do you really know who you serve? Or are they a demographic, right? If it's a set of demographics and psychographics, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, do you have an intimate knowledge of who do you really care to wake up every day and make their life better? In terms of how do you serve them, same thing. Do you really know what you do, right? More entrepreneurs than not, or more often than not, entrepreneurs will rattle off a list of 20, 30, 50 things that they know about. Yeah, but hey, what are you really freaking good at, and what are you passionate about doing, right? Nobody cares what you enjoy. Nobody cares that you like doing business plans. Nobody cares that you like doing strategic. If the market wants that, if people are willing to pay for it, fine. But you want to be successful, you want to be an entrepreneur, the first person you got to stop bullshitting is yourself, right? You got to ask, is this something that solves a compelling problem for somebody? Or is it just something that I think companies should do? I really think companies should focus on nobody gives a shit, right? Nobody cares what you think they should be doing, what you think they need. Now, I'm saying this like I've known this all along. Man, I used to lecture my clients. I used to tell them what was wrong with them. I used to tell them, how I really knew what they needed. Trust me, that didn't work. I didn't start making money until I stopped talking and started listening and really focused on what is it that they need, that they're willing to pay for. Not that they're willing to talk about, but they're willing to pay to solve, preferably in the next 30, 60, 90 days. What do you do that is worth money to somebody else? Very important question. A number of years ago, I went to a conference put on by Inc. here in Denver, and generally a pretty mediocre, awful conference. And I saw a speaker who himself was probably one of the worst speakers I've ever heard, very dry and not interesting. However, I took away an anecdote from him that was absolutely brilliant, insightful. And he says, when you ask people about their strengths and weaknesses, they tend to talk about things that they're good at or they're bad at, right? Well, I'm not good at math, or I'm bad at cold calling, or, whatever. He said, and I think it's all wrong. Those are competencies, stuff you're good at or not good at, or competencies. Now, the amazing thing about competencies is if you suck at something, you can get better, right? Repetition, training, practice makes you better, right? I loved fly fishing, and I sucked at it for years. And then I got a couple of really good, fly fishing guys to take me out and teach me, and I learned and I worked my ass off, and I got awesome. I'm a fantastic world-class fly fisherman at this point, right? Good for me. He said this concept of strengths and weaknesses, you need to think about it this way. A strength is something you do, an activity you perform that strengthens you, that you get more energy out of it than you put in, right? We all have that experience. We just finished something. We worked an 8-hour day busting our ass, and we're like, man, I'm fired up. I can go take on the world. That's a strength. A weakness is an activity you perform that weakens you, that saps your energy, that makes you not even want to get out of bed in the morning, right? So what you got to think about is the fact that if you perform activities that strengthen you, regardless of your competency, you're going to be energized to learn about them, to do them, to practice them, and your competency will improve. You'll get awesome at them. You'll get better. However, even if you're fantastic at something, even if it's the thing you're most skilled at, but it weakens you, you're going to wake up every day with less energy than the day before until you quit. So when you think about how you serve folks, you have to kind of balance two things. What do people really, really need that they're willing to pay for that actually strengthens you in performing it, right? Even if you're not good at it today, you can learn anything, right? I mean, short of, neurosurgery or, heart surgery or, some sort of really, and by the way, you can learn that too. You just need about 10 years in medical school. But there's really very little that you can't learn to do and improve and develop a competency in. I don't know shit about internet marketing 5-6 years ago. I'm pretty damn good at it at this point, right? I knew nothing about it, and I sucked at it. But every day I woke up, and all I knew was, man, this is exciting stuff. Man, I love learning about this. I didn't want to go to bed because I was building landing pages and writing copy and doing all that. I was like, where'd the time go, right? It strengthened me. So when you think about how you're going to serve your audience, you must focus on things people will pay for, and you must focus on things that will strengthen you. Bottom line is this, though. Regardless of what you love doing, what strengthens you, what have you, you got to find something that solves a problem, right? If we're ever talking and you're telling me all this great stuff you do, nobody cares what you do. The question is, what problem are you solving for somebody? All right, I got to speed it up because we got a lot to do. When we think about the offer of what you sell, a very important concept, but a simple one, is entry point versus core offer. When you are starting a relationship with somebody to solve a problem for them, to help them, chances are they're not going to begin that relationship with your $10,000 per month, minimum 6 months contract, gold package, right? People like to start small. So as you think about constructing, an offer set, regardless of what you do, right, what you perform, how valuable it is, you need an easy and digestible way for that person to begin doing business with you. That's your entry point offer. For me, you guys are all participating. My entry point offer is a $20 webinar, right? After this, maybe we'll do a couple $200-300 master class. Maybe you guys, actually need some help and you want to bring me in to do a 1 month, prospecting workshop for your people, charge you $2,500, and then maybe you want me to come in and spend the next 12 months and you're paying me $5,000-10,000 a month. That's an offer progression. You have to think through, how will people spend their first dollar with you, right? People don't come in and go all in, if you will, on the first conversation. They start small. They start giving you a little bit of money, and then they go from there. So when you think about how you're selling, how you're packaging what you do, hell, I talk to Fortune 500 companies, and I say, what's your entry point offer? Well, it's this blah, 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 $1 million this or that, or, what have you. No, you got to have a way for people to start spending money in small ways that deliver lots of value. All right. When we talk about what we do with folks, right, I'm flying here, and a little bit of a quick note. I am going to send you guys a couple of additional past webinars. And one is on cold calling, which actually goes in this concept of value proposition, how you build your value proposition in more detail. That's another hour. And then I'm also going to send you guys my referral webinar, because that's a whole nother topic, right? You got to be able to generate referrals, et cetera, et cetera. So what we do in terms of how it's going to help somebody else is called your value proposition, right? 3 ways to do that: functional, aspirational, referential. Here's what it sounds like. My functional value proposition is this: I customize Salesforce, I do sales training, I teach people to cold call, I build sales process. All of those are true, but they only resonate if the person you're talking to woke up that morning thinking about those items as a problem right now, right? So it's low probability. Aspirational sounds like this: I will fundamentally transform the way you think about generating revenue. I will transport your company from the $2 to $3 million you've been doing to the stratosphere of 5, 10, and 20 and beyond your wildest dreams. Maybe true, but how the hell do I know, since it's our first conversation? So aspirational, benefits-laden value propositions don't really work, right? Because people inherently resist them. They don't really believe them. Final one is referential, which is the one that actually matters. A referential, oops, I shouldn't have said that right there. A referential value proposition, not a functional, but a referential answers the question what you do by sharing how you have served others like them facing the exact same challenges and problems they face. So here's what it sounds like. If we met at a networking event and you said, so what do you do, Townsend? I would say, well, thanks for asking. I serve founders, CEOs, presidents, owners of small companies, in my mind, 1 to 5 million. And when I'm working with CEOs like yourself, typically they share with me a couple of frustrations. They share with me the fact that they had CRM in place for a couple of years, and it's really not giving me any data. They still don't know what the people are doing. Gosh, they tell me that they're really frustrated by the fact that their business and their salespeople are wholly dependent on inbound leads and referrals. They don't know how to beat the bushes, pick up the phone. They suck at that. And they also tell me that, they're really concerned that they don't have a real good plan, methodology, process, approach for scaling the organization. They got one guy who's doing great. They don't know how to replicate him. That's what I do, right? Notice I never told you things I perform or how I do it or I can do it for you. I simply shared with you how I work with other people like you. So you'll see more on that in the other videos, but wanted to at least share that. Money, money, money. You cannot be successful if you do not have a relationship with money that is free from fear. Talk about money early and often is all I can say. The number of entrepreneurs that I interact with, who want to chat about a deal they're working, etc. I ask questions like, so what do you think you're going to charge them for this? And they say, a couple grand, whatever. Does the prospect have any idea they're even paying for this? Have you talked about money yet? Well, no, we'll get to that. Okay, you've had 5 meetings, you haven't talked about money? That's insane, right? Talking about money matters, right? There is no such thing as I'm doing this engagement for the next big one, meaning, well, I'm going to do this little project, and I'm going to do a lot of work and do a really good job and not charge them a lot because they say there's this bigger project on the horizon. You sell the deal in front of you. You are never selling the deal in front of you to get the next deal. There may never be another deal. So this myth of, I'm going to kind of lost lead this deal so that I can get the next one or then I get the real project is nonsense. Everything you do, you must accrue appropriate value for. If you want to discount, give it away, or what have you, I give away probably 25, 30% of my time, and I do it willingly. I don't do it to get a deal out of it. I do it because I love doing it, right? So don't ever be fooled by these companies that are going to try to get you to do stuff because of what it will lead to. There's no such thing as what it will lead to. That's a lie. Proposals are stupid. I don't do them. I don't know why anybody else would. At the end of the day, a proposal at best should be a manifestation of what we've already talked about and agreed to in principle. There should be nothing in a proposal that is new information. Contrast that with how most people do proposals, which is it's the first time they talk about money. We've done all this work, all this discovery, all this conversation. We roll it up in this pretty document, and on the back page, we finally tell them what it's going to cost them. Well, you know what the prospect does? They get the proposal, they open it, they don't read a damn word you just said, they look to the back page, they see the price, they ignore you for a while. When they finally get a hold of you, or when you finally get a hold of them, they say, yeah, that looks a little high, right? It's idiocy, guys. Come on. We know better. Don't do proposals, right? Now, when I say don't do proposals, what I mean is I don't write a document with a whole bunch of crap in it. After I'm done talking with somebody and we've shaken hands and we're moving forward, I send them an email that says, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to charge you. Here's how long we're going to hang out. Here's some other stuff that matters, like you're going to pay me in the first month, et cetera. Are we cool? So I do put it in writing, but it's after it's done, right? A proposal is not something that should be new information. It doesn't make sense. Contracts to me are equally silly. A contract is simply a document that entitles you to sue somebody. Guess what? Whoever you're working with has more money than you, more lawyers than you. You're not suing anybody. If you don't feel comfortable shaking hands with somebody and trusting that they're going to pay you, I'd say don't do business with them. Now, exceptions. I always offer to companies if they have an NDA or some other, proprietary secrets document that their lawyers absolutely need me to sign, shit, I'll sign it. If they have a contract as in an MSA or some T's and C's crap that their lawyers need me to sign, I'll sign it. I'm never going to put a contract in front of somebody. I'm never going to write a contract. I don't care what's in it, right? I don't have the time or the energy or the money to sue to enforce somebody. If I don't believe you're going to pay me, we shouldn't be doing business together. The biggest trap for consultants is time for money. What's your hourly rate, people ask? My answer is, couldn't possibly tell you. I don't count hours. I don't do an hourly rate. When I do, a typical advisory arrangement, agreement, whatever, I'm getting a $5,000 a month fee. I'm probably putting in 2 hours a week. So it's about 8 hours. 5 divided by 8, I don't know, what's that, 400 an hour or something like that? I'm not really sure. Doesn't really matter to me. Some weeks I only work an hour. You want to align your offer and your entire conversation around the value you're providing. If somebody's looking for you to come in and spend 10 hours doing something, I get it, but that's not the conversation you want to aspire to having. When I'm coming in and let's just say helping somebody with, cold calling stuff, right? What I'm selling is I'm going to take you guys from 1 or 2 top of the funnel meetings per sales rep per week to 6 to 8 per week, which, if everything else remains the same, should double or triple your overall revenue without changing anything else. So if you guys are doing $2 million a year, I would probably forecast you guys get another $4 million or another $2 million out of it to a total of $4 million. So you're paying me $5,000 a month for 6 months. What is that? 30,000 for $2 million of additional revenue. Sounds like a good deal to me. Any questions? No, I don't know what my hourly rate is, and no, I don't care what it is. The myth of recurring revenue. All of my relationships are done on a handshake, as I said, and on a month-to-month basis. I will work with clients as long as possible, as long as I'm adding value, and not a day longer, right? I don't try to get people to get me in a 12-month contract. My view is if I'm adding value 12 months in a row, they're not going anywhere, neither am I. If I am not adding value, then the only thing I'm giving up by not having a 12-month contract are the 6 months of dread in my stomach when I feel like we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation. They're going to tell me, yeah, we think we're not getting the value, et cetera, et cetera. So I really do these things to be selfish, right? I do them to reduce stress and anxiety in my life. I know when the value I'm delivering for a client starts to wane. I know when I'm not adding as much value as I was. Sometimes I can step it up. Sometimes it's just a fact of, hey, I've done all I can do here. Then we have a conversation about it. We don't worry about a contractor trying to enforce us and keep me around longer than we need. Partnership nonsense. I mean this in the sense of two things. One, a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with end up sharing an opportunity with me that within about 30 seconds is absolutely clear that they're talking to somebody who doesn't want to give them any money but views this as a, quote, partnership. The other thing is entrepreneurs spend a lot of time talking to other entrepreneurs at networking events about stuff they could do together. The unfortunate part is nobody wants to go out and get the customer. Everybody wants to provide services and partner. My view is who's going to go find somebody with money in their pocket to pay us? So if you're talking to, quote unquote, partners, people in your ecosystem, first question should be, who's going to bring in new customers? And if the answer is not them, then I'm not sure why you need them. That's called a subcontractor, right? If I bring in the customer, I control everything. If I need you, I'll call you and I'll tell you what I'm going to pay you for your services. So all the power comes from getting the customers. This concept of partnerships and creating these consortiums, it's a lot of hot air. I don't do reference checks with my clients, or I don't perform them. When they say, well, what about references? My thing is, well, we're signing this for a month. If you don't like it, don't bring me back. More importantly, if you're in a business that does require reference checks exist only as a final step after an agreement has been reached in principle. So, again, I'm whizzing by on this, but a lot of companies will say during the selling process, well, we want to talk to some references. Have you decided to move forward with me? Well, no, we're still trying to figure out what we want to do. Then why do you want to talk to a reference? Well, we want to see what they did with you. That has nothing to do with your and my relationship. A reference check is somebody you can call to validate that I'm not a schmuck and that I can actually do what I said I can do in the context of an agreement you and I have made about what we're going to do together. A reference check is not a decision tool, it's a validation tool. So I could probably do a whole hour on reference checks. Working for free. This is an interesting one. Some folks will say never work for free. I don't agree with that. I do a lot of stuff for free. I went up to Boulder yesterday, met with a company, and they were introduced by a referral. I wasn't there to get a client. I was just there talking to them. They're, a $5 million company, right in my sweet spot. I didn't get the sense, early on that they really needed anything. I wasn't trying to find something for them, that I could do for them. But I saw very quickly that there was a lot of, advice I could give them if they wanted that would probably help them keep from making mistakes. Stated differently, there was no obvious engagement, but they're the kind of people that I want to be around, the kind of people that I want to help. So I made it very clear. I said, listen, I'm not here to get money. I'm here because, so-and-so introduced us, and if there's a way I can help you, I want to help. And if there's ever a point in time when we start talking about something that actually represents work for me and, it looks like an engagement, I'll bring it up. But for now, I'm just here to help, right? Some might say, well, that devalues what you do. And I say, well, maybe, but I love doing it, and it fills me with pleasure, right? And I help, all sorts of struggling entrepreneurs, and people come to me and, they're doing a couple $100,000 in revenue. I'm like, yeah, you can't afford me, but, I'm happy to help anyway. I don't believe that devalues you. I think not having an appropriate relationship between the work you're performing and the ability of the person you're talking to actually pay is what matters. I'll give you an example. I had a conversation about 2 months ago with a guy who works for a European company. He wants some coaching. And he said, how much? I said, well, anywhere from free to, a couple $1,000 a month. I said, we'll have a conversation about it. Bottom line is, if you're a real company and you can afford to pay, then I'm going to charge you full boat. If, this is just you calling me and it's got to come out of your pocket, then hell, we'll have some informal conversations. I'll do it for free. I got time, right? I kind of have a giving mindset. A young gentleman reached out to me from an existing client, needed some help prospecting. I said, well, go tell your boss he needs to give me another $2,500 a month and I'll help you. And he goes, well, what if he won't pay for it? I said, well, then I'll help you on the side. And, you can get another job and hire me the next place you go, because obviously your company doesn't invest in you. Just an example, right? So I tend to have a very loose attitude about money because I don't want money to have fear over me and control over me. So don't get all hung up on I don't work for free, right? Don't work for free if it's obvious that somebody's trying to take advantage of you, but don't be afraid of giving away your services. If it seems like the right thing to do. It's not doing it to build brands, it's doing it because it's the right thing to do as a human being. So there's my take on it. All right, now the meat, sales and marketing. You got to know metrics and measures, right? You have to have a process. I'm going to give you a map for this, and by the way, there's a whole other presentation I'll send you on that. You can't sell without a prospect, which means you actually have to have some sort of list to work, right? You have to have targets. You have to have identified people that are your targets. I don't care if you're, past associates, if they're LinkedIn contacts, if you bought a list. You got to have a list of some sort, because that means you're working with intention. When I'm working with a prospect, I simply say, go come up with 20 companies you want to sell to, right? Go through the process. Try to get in the door. Try to have a conversation. Yeah, I know a list you found on the internet or random companies is the least effective list, but it's better than sitting around trying to find the perfect company. Working with another gentleman who I kind of went through my standard approach. I said, well, just find 10 companies that, people blah, blah, blah. As soon as he started doing it, he said, wait a minute, I don't have to limit this to the 10. I could go just find other companies and do this. I'm like, yeah, no shit, right? You got to have a list. You have to have intention. Start with 20. But if you're figuring out how to grow your business out for this webinar, excuse me, first task is write down 20 companies that you want to get into, right? That you think would be cool to work with. Go find at least one or two contacts at each of those companies and research, their name, their number, friend them on LinkedIn, whatever. Now you have a target list. Now you start calling. Now you start emailing, whatever. You probably have enough people in your LinkedIn contacts to fund you, to fuel you for the rest of your life. A couple of years ago, I did an experiment. I only had about 1,200 LinkedIn contacts at the time. I said, I'm going to reach out to every one of them. I'm going to schedule a little meeting. I'm going to introduce myself. If I don't know them, I'm going to say hi. If I've met them before, I'm going to ask them what they've been doing, what's new, and then when they ask what I've been doing, I'm going to share with them what I've been doing. I had 6 to 8 of these meetings a week. This started in January. And by the end of February, I had to shut the program down because I had more business than I knew what to do with. And all I did was schedule a 20, 30-minute meeting to say hello again or introduce myself. I've got a whole process for this. It's in my presentation that I'm going to send you guys, right? So the process is all there. It's really simple. And I didn't try to sell a damn thing. I just said, hey, so we've never met. What do you even do? Blah, 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 blah. Eventually they say, so what do you do? I said, well, I serve CEOs, founders. I gave my referential value proposition statement. One of 3 things happened. They said, wow, that's interesting. I could use your help. Or they said, wow, that's interesting. I think my buddy Bob, the CEO, could use your help. Or they said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Pretty straightforward. If you say I have no idea what you're talking about, that's fine. Move on. Now, 15% of the people no-showed on me, right? 50% of the people that showed up, it was a weird, awkward conversation. It just was. But like I said, I had more business than I knew what to do with inside of 2 months just by talking to people. I just focused on one simple metric, right? I'm going to blast this because I'm going to send it to you. This is how sales works, friends, right? You do stuff, calls and emails, which gets you in front of people. You're working to get a first scheduled meeting, meaning actually get them on your calendar to talk to them, the intro. Half of those will advance to some sort of, let's keep talking. Half of those will probably turn into a qualified opportunity, and you can close 1 in 5 of them. And then, by the way, everybody that falls out, you go back again in 3 months and talk to them again. But it's all math, right? There's nothing fancy. You're not trying to find the perfect prospect. You're trying to talk to a lot of people. I kind of think about it like dating, right? If all you do is try to find the perfect person to go on a date with, you're going to spend a lot of Saturday nights home alone. If all you're trying to do is find the perfect woman or man to get married to, right, and that's your criteria for going on a date, you spend a lot of time at home. Not too long ago, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, I was back in the dating market, if you will, and I had a simple philosophy. I'm just going to go on some dates with people. If they were interesting, I'd just go have dinner. I wasn't trying to take them home. I wasn't trying to, have them be my girlfriend or get them in bed. I was just saying, there are worse things to do on a Friday night than go have dinner with a beautiful woman who happens to be intelligent, right? If there was no chemistry, there was no chemistry, and I just said, no worries. But what happened was I met a lot of cool people. Some of those people, there was a romance, spark, whatever. Some of them, there was none, but they said, I want to introduce you to my friend, right? You got to get out there. You got to get up to bat, step up to the plate and swing the bat if you want to hit the ball. It's kind of simple. Again, I'll send you a video on this that goes into more detail. Talking about marketing metrics. There are sales metrics and there are marketing metrics, right? Marketing is an absolutely critical part of the game. And I'm actually going to spend the balance of the presentation, which is well over an hour here at this point, talking about the marketing machine that I've built and why you need to do the same thing. But these are the things you need to understand. Are you getting views, right? Are people going to your pages? Let me show you what I mean here. This is not all that complicated. Let me go here, right? This is everybody's favorite tool called LinkedIn. These are my LinkedIn posts, right? This is traffic. 77 people looked at this yesterday. 104 people looked at this yesterday. 161 looked at, are you afraid of slowing down? 370, let's keep going. 1,000 people saw this, right? 1,000 people saw this article, right? Now, what I did with those 1,000 people is what I'm going to show you in a minute, but that's traffic. You got to have people seeing you. You got to get out there. Clicks to content, right? We'll talk about this, and this will make more sense when I actually show you how this works. Landing pages, conversions, hand raises, and ultimately opt-ins to your email list, right? That's the holy grail here. All right. Sustainable marketing means building your network, not just continuing to work the network you have. It's about your list. I'm going to say this very, very pointedly. If you do not have a mailing list, an opt-in mailing list powered in the back end with something like MailChimp or Infusionsoft or Drip or one of these other things, if you are not actively focused on getting people into an opt-in status where you can email them, you are not playing the game with any level of seriousness. Now, I'm going to pick on a friend of mine, good buddy of mine, Noah Goldman. I want you to look at this. He started not that long ago his enterprise sales podcast. I got to find this sucker. There it is. This is Noah's podcast. He's got 132 followers. Big whoopee. Now, these are the people that he has interviewed. Mike Weinberg, one of the biggest names in sales consulting. Jeb Blount, one of the top guys in prospecting. Mike Bosworth invented solution selling. Mike Bosworth is on this guy's podcast doing an interview, right? Anthony Iannarino, thesalesblog.com, one of the top followed, most influential sales leaders in the entire freaking world. On and on and on, including this handsome devil down here called Townsend Wardlaw someplace, right? Here's my problem with Noah, and I've said this to him. He is driving incredible traffic with these name brand stars. He has no way to communicate with anybody that visits his page, right? It doesn't matter that 330 people listen to the interview with Mike Weinberg. They may call him, but Noah has no way to get a hold of him. If you don't make it as your number one priority to have the infrastructure in place to capture email addresses, get people opted into a list, you are dooming yourself to the same old shit day after day after day. Okay? Let's talk more about that. Talk about marketing infrastructure. What's the difference? Sales is when the humans get involved. When you have to talk to people, that's selling. Marketing is all the other stuff that gets people queued up for the conversation. That's how I think about it, right? My entire infrastructure today is built so that I don't ever pick up the phone. My phone rings, my email dings, people reach out to me. Now, that used to be passive. Hey, it happens when it happens. It's really cool. Everything I do in this particular day and age is intentional. I literally have dials that I can turn up and turn down. If every one of my clients went away tomorrow, I could replace them all in a week simply by turning up the dials on the engine that I've built in the back end that is the same engine that anybody on this call can build, right, to attract, people to view your stuff, get them to convert onto your email list, nurture them with content, and then offer them stuff. Every one of you is on my email list, right? That's why you're here. So a couple of years ago, I did lots of social media and SEO. I sent a bunch of content. I did a lot of sends, right? Tons of content, all these articles. I'm really smart. Let me show you. Some people opened it. Some people clicked on it. Not too many people opted out, right? Once in a while, the phone rang, and it was nice. It was a great year. Grew my revenue 100%. So I was really happy. Problem was, despite the fact that I grew all this traffic, I didn't have any permanent connection with these folks. My mailing list was a couple hundred, 300-400 subscribers, maybe, right? The problem with not having somebody opted in is everything's passive. You have to go to my YouTube channel to see my videos. You have to go to LinkedIn and find me. You have to scroll through all the other crap. I'll talk about some specific medium in a minute, but building an email list is the single most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur to create a sustainable flow of prospects. One more time, because it's important. Building the infrastructure to enable an opt-in email list is the single most important thing you need to do as an entrepreneur to create a sustainable and consistent flow of revenue. Okay? Let's talk about how that works. This is my little attempt at humor here. So this is basically, at a high level what happens. You got to get traffic, LinkedIn, SEO, I'll talk about that in a second. We use these things called lead magnets, which is essentially an ethical bribe that, convinces you to give me your email address in exchange for something of value I'm going to download. It used to be ebooks or stuff like that. If you guys have, checked out my stuff, it's my cold calling guide, it's my meeting checklist. Those are lead magnets, right? It converts you to opting into my list. Additionally, I typically send more stuff, right? When people opt into my list, I send them another guide, I send them another set of email templates, I send them more stuff, and then I nurture them over the course of a year with additional content, all the while picking up little breadcrumbs of information, either through surveys or asking questions, or simply by seeing what people click on or don't click on. I start to segment, and condition those lists so that I actually have more information. And then I start to present offers, right? I can offer, a $20 webinar, let's say, right? I can offer, paid content, replays, all sorts of stuff. Ultimately, though, my goal is for the right people at the right time to get them on my calendar. All of this is automated in my world. At the end of the rainbow, there's a little link that says, hey, you've been to my webinar, you downloaded a bunch of stuff, you meet the profile of somebody that I could probably help. Here's a link to my calendar. Pick a slot, let's talk, right? That's how I do business. That's how I sell, if you will, today. And it's not that hard. So let's get into some details. Lead magnet, right? These are some of my lead magnets. If you want to actually see all of my lead magnets and how they work, probably the best thing you can do, I keep popping on this stupid thing here, is if you go to my LinkedIn page and you look at my articles, I actually took the time to put all of my process guides in one place. Every one of these is a lead magnet, right? Every single one of these things here, cold call script, get the next meeting, any one of these that you click on, you come to a landing page, which is the next step in the process. The landing page is also called the squeeze page. It's where I force you to either navigate away or click, yes, I want this thing that you are talking about, Townsend. Right? So that's a lead magnet. Lead magnet criteria are actually important. A lead magnet is not a 5-session course of hour-long videos. Lead magnets are, energy food, if you will, light consumption, something people can download and use. Every one of you can come up with lead magnets for your business, right? It's your guide to this. It's your top 10, reasons for doing something. I was talking to a gentleman this morning, and he's got a real job, but he's got a business on the side. He actually went to Bible college, and he's got a site that is aimed at helping preachers, pastors, whatever, write better sermons, right? So they get this stuff. Their lead magnet is, our checklist for the best sermon or something like that. It was like your 35-point checklist for did you write a good sermon this week? Give us your email. We'll download it here. We'll send it to you, right? We've all downloaded this stuff. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Lead magnet should be medium perceived value. Hey, I sell this for $25, or, you're not giving away something that should be thousands of dollars, but you're giving something in exchange for an email that has a lot of real value to them. Lead magnet secrets, if you ask me, right? I used to write a lot of content, any article, any video, etc. Nowadays, I start with the lead magnet and then I write the content. I'm in a group of bloggers, about 40 of them, really, really well-known sales and marketing experts. These folks write every day. They publish all this freaking content and they're not building a list. I actually don't even write an article until I have a compelling lead magnet that goes with it. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, not long ago, I realized their salespeople did not know how to, gosh, I keep opening this one, sorry guys, did not know how to actually open and close a meeting properly. Oh, I must have closed my window. So I put together for them a checklist of how do you actually open and close a meeting. What is it? I put it in a nice little format. And they liked it and it worked well. I said, gosh, that'd be a really good lead magnet. So I put it into a PDF format, and I basically made an article about it. So I got 793 people to view this quote article, which is simply my successful sales checklist here. And I said, if you want to download a printable version, you click right here, right? I picked up about 250 opt-ins off of this lead magnet right here. So literally about 5 minutes worth of work, I got 250 new subscribers to my list. One customer out of that is $50,000, $60,000. Pretty good investment in time if you know what I mean. Let's see, where are we at here? Okay, still moving. I'm not going to get into detail about how to do this stuff, probably a topic for another time, but there's lots of great information on the internet to research about lead magnets, how to create them. One of the resources I provided at the bottom is a link to Digital Marketer, which is, for my mind, one of the top people in the world that know how to do this stuff and build this stuff, so you'll check them out. Lead magnets don't work without traffic. I already talked about that. Driving traffic is not, it's not easy. A lot of people think, oh, we're going to work on SEO and, basically keyword stuff. To be honest, you don't have the money nor the skills to really master this stuff, right? You got to spend a lot of money, and you have to have really good infrastructure to be there, right? These days, right, when you Google something, you got ads all over the friggin' place, and everybody's competing for these couple two slots. So SEO is really a losing game, and in fact, my highest performing organic pieces of content were simply by luck, right? They were no mastery on my part of SEO. If you look at my YouTube channel, you'll see that my top performing video, cold calling script for download, blah, 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 204,000 views. I wonder if that's just this year. I thought it was more. But long story short, I got lucky. I've put dozens. I think I have 70, 80 videos here. Most have reasonable views, 500, 600, but you can't actually predict. We're actually not that good, most of us, to say, oh, this is going to be, this is going to catch on, this is going to hit the search engine. So you got to create a lot of content, different kind of avenues, video, LinkedIn, whatever, and the traffic will come. All right, there's SEO. Twitter, what a bunch of nonsense. People that build Twitter followers, Twitter followings are just downright fools in my mind, right? Twitter is the place where you can have 40,000 followers, none of which actually engage with your stuff. Again, I went to this group that I work with. Some of these folks have 250,000 Twitter followers. I can generate more views and more opt-ins from a single LinkedIn post than they can tweeting all freaking week long to their 250,000 followers. It's not a good place to spend your time. Facebook fans are not a good place to spend your time, but Facebook advertising has really emerged as an incredibly powerful medium. Another conversation, lots of people who are really good at that. Google AdWords, if you got a bunch of money to blow and you know how this works, and that's a great way to go. For me, LinkedIn is where I place my bets, right? As you see, I got a lot of articles there. LinkedIn is a community. It drives a lot of organic traffic. I can put an article up and easily get, 200-300 views on it consistently. If I actually market it and it's a good article, I get 1,000. I've got some that are 20,000, right? I can't control which one's 20,000. I'll be honest. The ones that I think are going to go through the roof, I got crickets. The ones that I'm not that impressed with, all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, I got 10,000 views. But LinkedIn to me is one of the most powerful and free tools that you can use to drive traffic to your opt-in list. Remember, you're not trying to drive traffic to your offer and sell. You're driving traffic just to the top of the funnel. Get their email so you can communicate with them, right? I already showed you this, so I don't need to go in again. But, the idea is, it's pretty easy to drive 700, 800, down here in the bottom, 7,000 views. And then if you get picked up by the LinkedIn little magical search engine, you can get 20, 30,000 pretty easily. I already showed you how this worked in terms of having a link in there that goes to a landing page. If you have any questions, just go to my LinkedIn page, check out my articles, and start clicking around. You'll figure out what I'm doing. That's another point to mention. I never sat down, took a course, paid a consultant to help me with this, I found the smartest people out there, digital marketer, Frank Kern, the unbalanced people, on and on and on. And I just watched what they did. These guys have figured it out. I watched what they did, and there was some work to actually figure out the mechanics, but I signed up for all sorts of opt-in lists, to basically see how these people were doing it, and I copied them. That's how you learn this stuff. This is the back end. This is actually when you look at that landing page that I showed you, which was this, right, where you actually click on it. This is where you manage all that stuff. I use a tool called Lead Pages. Most landing pages, industry average is in the 30-35% range in terms of if you get on the landing page, do you convert. Most of my best performing landing pages are in the 60 or 70%. So I've worked very hard to try and figure out how to optimize conversions so that if you go to my landing page, there's a good chance you're going to actually, download the email. How it works, right? I use Lead Pages, and you can actually go use MailChimp, which is free for up to 2,500 contracts. Lead Pages might be $40, $50 a month, right? So for literally $500 a year, you got the infrastructure in place to basically create landing pages and start capturing emails. Go do this today. Can't stress it enough. I actually use Infusionsoft on the back end, which allows me some very complex ability to manage my relationships, right? All sorts of campaign path flows, all sorts of stuff going on, but this is the fancy way to do it. I'll also tell you that Lead Pages has launched their own email marketing software called Drip, so they're both fully integrated, Lead Pages plus Drip, and they're very cheap, if not close to free. I think Drip is free for your first 100 contacts or something. But, man, I tell you, these tools, the tools that are available today for pennies are what organizations used to spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on years ago. We live in this age where some little punk like me sitting at home, minding his own business, has access to technology that allows me to build my own kingdom. It's absolutely amazing. All right. We've only talked about this, right? When I talk about capturing the emails, that's just the first step. That's just getting the email. The question is, then what do you do about it, right? Where do you go from there? Well, I showed you the whole map. Obviously not enough time to talk about it all today, but what I did, like I said, 5-6 years ago was I didn't worry about the rest. I said, I'm going to focus on getting people in my audience, getting their email address, and sending them nice articles, not pitching, not trying to find an offer for them. I see a lot of entrepreneurs who immediately start asking, how do I sell? What can I sell them? What's my offer? Why don't you get to 1,000 opt-ins first? Why don't you get to 100 first, right? Why don't you master the ability to generate traffic, convert people to an email list, and get them to stick around for 3 months, right? You got to give before you ask, right? So keep adding value. Don't rush to sell. I have a 30-something week nurture series where if you go down my list for 30 weeks, I'm just going to send you stuff that I've built over the years that I think you'll have value, or I think will add value to your life. On average, people have been working with me, quote unquote, reading my stuff, getting value from me for a year or more before either they call me or they receive some form of request from me, to give me money, right? So by the time I'm actually asking for something, I hope that I've given tremendous value. I hope that I've helped their lives, made their lives better, give them something they can use. So what do? Add value. Don't rush to sell. Ask questions. Email your listeners and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing a webinar on this. What do you guys think? Send out a survey. Use SurveyMonkey. Host a free webinar. Just get your feet wet, right? If you want, send suggested times to meet, not to sell, not to pitch, but just to say hello. I know you've been reading my stuff. Would like to grab 15 minutes, on our mutual calendar to get connected. I use TimeTrade. Calendly is another really powerful application. You put your times in, people pick their times, they show up. It's easy. All throughout this, I've talked about content, right? Content. You've heard that. What is content? Well, at its essence, content is information that's valuable to your audience. It's stuff that will, over time, establish you as an expert, as an authority, right? You're giving people advice. You're sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom. How you do it doesn't matter, right? Meaning video, what have you. I shoot videos. I write articles. I do presentations. It doesn't really matter. Whatever's easy for you. Don't worry about production quality. I shoot my videos on my iPhone. Most times I'm holding it in my hand and I'm using the stupid mic on the camera. Now I have fancy mics. I had a whole video set up in my basement. I never used that crap, right? The desire for perfection, the desire for high quality, right, is, in my mind, the things that keeps most entrepreneurs from actually getting off their ass and doing anything. So for me, if I can make it quick, easy, simple, etc., that's how I do it. A couple of years ago, when I was cranking out a lot of content, I used to record just on some recording application on my phone with my headset while I was driving, some story, some anecdote. I went on Fiverr, Fiverr.com, found some chop in Yugoslavia or wherever to transcribe it, came back about 90% correct. I spent 20 minutes editing it and posted it, right? So I was able to create tons of content without having to sit down and grind through it. I just recorded it and had somebody transcribe it. Super easy. Video is most powerful, no doubt about it. You definitely get the most bang for your buck putting stuff on video. And frankly, YouTube is the most searched website in the entire world. So if you can start creating some videos, good on you. I'll share with you that there's actually a really impressive, I'll say young man, but he's my age, who's been doing this stuff for a long time. And I don't know how many videos he's up to, but gosh, it's a lot of videos. Let's see here. He's been out here cranking away. Some of these things have 2 views, 5 views, 16 views. Look at all this stuff. He's out there every day shooting a video, and I know there's more on this. I'm not seeing it all. And look, they get more and more professional, right? You get nice graphics, and his style has gotten better. He's found his voice, but this has taken him a lot of time to actually do. Gerald Rhodes is his name. Positive Cycling Mindset. Check it out, right? He hasn't figured out all the angles on how to monetize it. He hasn't figured out, all the quirks, etc. But he's out there every day shooting a video. Some of you hopefully have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, social media phenom, marketing phenom, overnight sensation. Not really. He did videos for about 4 years every day reviewing wine in his dad's liquor store, back when YouTube started. You go back to some of those videos, they got like 20 views, right? Now the guy puts up a video and it's, 200, 300,000 views, 40,000 views, whatever. You got to put in the work. You got to learn how to do this stuff. It doesn't just come by sitting around. So content, right? Most important thing is over time, you will develop your own perspective and voice. You're not trying to be perfect. You're not trying to be right. You're trying to be you. Remember, you don't need 100,000 customers to be rich. You just need a few of the right customers. Video and content needs to be about give. If you're asking for something, right, it's not a give, right? It's an ask. If you're trying to sell something, that's not content. That's an offer. So create lots of content. All right, coming to the end, and then we'll go to questions, so hopefully you have some. Here's what I think you should go run do. That's how I like to end things, right? Spend some time, define your perfect customer. Right? Write it down, see how much you can write. I mean, tell me their hair color, their weight, their height, what sports do they like? Do they have kids? I don't care. Be as specific as possible. If you only like working with people from, Eastern Lithuania, or you think they'd be really cool, put it on your list. That's fantastic. Build your skill inventory, right? Really get real with yourself about what do you actually know how to do? What are you good at? And what are you passionate about that you probably need to get better at, right? So when I say skill inventory, there's all the things you know about, right? There's the things that you're awesome at, and then there's the things that you might not be awesome at, but remember I said how they fulfill you, they enrich you, they empower you. Well, those are the things you're going to need to get better on, and you still want those on the inventory. Come up with some lead magnets. Look at what I'm doing. Go do some research on the web on lead magnets. But you need 1 or 2 lead magnets, and you need the infrastructure of landing pages and an email app to run that. I can't tell you enough. It makes me absolutely furious that my buddy Noah Goldman is getting massive traffic, massive props for all these incredible people he's bringing onto his podcast, and he's not capturing a single freaking email. His reason? Well, I'm too busy. I'll work on that later. Well, you'll work on it later, but all the traffic has come and gone, right? It's like having a store with all this foot traffic, thousands of people walking by, and you don't even have a front door. Oh, we'll put the door in later. We got these great window displays, so people always come by, but, we'll deal with the front door later, right? Get your landing pages and email infrastructure set up, and finally, come up with a content calendar. Start creating ideas. Have a running list. I use these big, giant Post-it notes in my kitchen. Whenever I have a content idea, I write it down, right? I might get to it, I might not. And then I just record it in my phone. I shoot a video, I talk, and I get it transcribed, whatever. But you got to start creating content ideas. My buddy Gerald, I think, every day wakes up and comes up with 10 new articles to write. 9.5 of those suck every day, right? But every couple of days he comes up with a good one, and that's how you do it. You got to keep ideating and coming up with ideas. Some technology ideas, and you guys will get this presentation. You'll get the recording, all that stuff. So don't worry. But I want you to have just some ideas. Some amazing technology out there today. I've talked about a lot of this stuff: Fiverr, Time Trade, Mailchimp, Drip. Samcart is actually what I use for my shopping cart. At the point where you're going to start selling stuff, what you realize is that a shopping cart is very, very important. Shopping cart abandonment starts at about 50%, meaning 50% is a good number. If you do all this hard work to get somebody to actually click on your shopping cart and then they abandon the cart and they walk away, all has been for nothing. So investing in and understanding how a shopping cart works is really, 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 really important. And these guys at Samcart have absolutely nailed it. 17 Hats is new to the market and is, in my mind, what the future looks like. Please check it out. The individual user license is free. It is all-in-one business management software. It includes CRM, includes accounting software, includes project management, time tracking, proposal software, includes landing page, email management. It's unbelievable. These guys have absolutely nailed it. They also have an offer, I think it's called 17 Hats Assist, or has some funky name, for another, I think for $800 total. They also provide you with a personal assistant, a bookkeeper, and an account manager that does all the setup. So I'm literally blown away. I love this new technology, and I love the ability for it to empower the independent business professionals. So be sure to check that out. Some great resources for you guys to check out. Digital Marketer, right? Those guys publish tons of content. They actually run a couple of conferences. I'm going to their Traffic and Conversion Summit in March. Could not recommend a conference more if you really want to get exposed to all the stuff I've been showing you. Unbounce, SEO Moz, Gary Vaynerchuk. Chris Brogan is one of the smartest, coolest, nicest, most giving people. I've never even met him. But if you want to figure out how to create offers, how to build your business like you don't know what to sell, you don't know what to create, he's got a whole program around that about how to really, even figure out what you should be selling. Incredible guy, incredible content. And then, of course, I got my YouTube channel, which has lots of videos, always putting stuff there. And then last but not least, I'm here. Send me an email, townsendwardlaw@gmail.com. It's not complicated. I answer all my emails. If I can help you, I'd love to do so. Now, with that, I'm going to take a breath. I am going to do this. If you guys have a question, simply go ahead and let me know in the chat window, and I will reply to you with how you can unmute yourself. So take a pause here, and you guys can start. Let me know if you actually have any questions.